You're fine.
All right.
Yeah, we're ready to roll. We're ready to roll.
Well, first let me start out by thanking everybody for coming out tonight. And before we do the introductions, I want to thank behind us, you can't see it right now, all the people that came out to donate school supplies.
Yes.
We got a ton of school supplies. So just so folks know, we are going to take them on Monday. I'm going to drop them off to Dr. Bernie Bragan and his office, and he's going to distribute them where they need to go, you know, any kid that needs them. So thank you to everybody that came out today. It was overwhelming. I didn't do a great job of, I could have done a better job of promoting it during the week, but I had a couple, personal things going on, and that took precedent. But it was still a great turnout.
Yeah, it was good turnout, and we definitely have a lot of items behind us, which is going to go to very good use. But we're here today, also, not just for the back-to-school drive, but we're also here today to get opinions from Edison students. Some different grades here, and we want to thank the students for coming out, and we look forward to hearing what they have to say about the entire situation we have here going on in the state of New Jersey with the lockdown, what it was like rounding up the school year.
I'm curious to find out a couple things. One is they've been out of school since March.
Yes.
I think it was.
Yes.
And everybody's used to going to school, so I'm curious to find out how the virus has, affected them socially. Interacting with their friends and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And do kids miss school? That's what I'm.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. So,
but first of all, we're going to pass the mic down the row. If you don't mind, please introduce yourselves. Tell us what your name, your first name, what grade you're in, what school you're in, and if there's anything else you want to add, feel free. Please.
All right, my name is Jack Orchid. I am currently 16, and I'm going to be a junior in Edison High School this following school year.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's
okay. That's fine.
It for
Jack.
Yes.
Welcome, Jack. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jack.
Feel welcome.
Hi, I'm Rhythm Beige. I'm in 8th grade, going to 9th grade, going to join J.P. Stevens High School this September. I'm 14, and yeah.
Thank you for coming today.
My name is Arden. I'm 15, and I'm going into 10th grade this year in J.P. Stevens High School.
Good. Thank you.
My name is Mina. I will be attending as a freshman to JP next year.
Great. Fantastic. And just hand right behind you.
My name is Megan, and this is going to be my senior year at Edison High.
Senior year. Look at that.
Fellow Eagle.
That's it.
Fellow Eagle.
Eagles. Fantastic. All right, so we rounded out the school year, ending up, from, I guess it was March.
March.
Was it late March, where the district ended up going virtual. Okay? So what I like to, how many of you were, first of all, how many of you were comfortable with going virtual for the second half, for like the remainder of the school year, for the remaining 3 months? How many of you were actually comfortable going virtual? 3? Yeah, you're in between, and not so much. Okay.
Would you rather be in school or?
Yeah, knowing what I know now, sorry.
You don't have to stand.
Okay. Well, knowing what I know now, I'd much rather be in school than virtual, but when I started off going into virtual, I was really enthusiastic about going into doing virtual learning because, well, there is a lot of freedom that comes with that, or perceived freedom. It was really just freedom of choice of getting onto classroom and doing your assignments.
What were you surprised about the virtual learning? What did you think you would like and you ended up not liking, is what I'm saying. Did you? Because I can tell you, when I was a student, all right, I could tell you that virtual would have been difficult for me because I needed more of the discipline of my head would have been everywhere, you know what I mean? And being in school, going class to class during market period for myself, I would do better in the school.
Okay. Right. Okay, so here's a question. We went virtual, and day one of virtual learning, you all, correct me if I'm wrong, you all probably had some kind of assumption as to how it would go. Whether it be smooth, whether it be rough, whether it would be good, whether it would be bad. Did that first perception of how it's going to be, did it match up to what it actually ended up being? No? No? We'll get to one second.
The expectation was that it was only going to be like 2-3 weeks, right? So you thought it's just going to go, oh, it's going to smooth over, right? You're going to go
Right.
back into school and everything's going to resume normal. Then you're in school for 4 months virtually, and I mean, you can learn a lot more virtually because you don't have the teachers constantly on top of you. I mean, and especially for somebody who's very self-organized and has a lot of discipline for themselves, it works a lot better because you have a home computer that you can actually learn on. And not every learning website is blocked because the district tries to block all these games, and it's a lot easier to learn more material because I feel like in school I learn practically nothing.
Okay, so you felt that at home you were actually able to learn more.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Oh, sorry.
So learning at home was so much easier for me because at school you have to ask to go to the bathroom or stuff like that. At home it's just, you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. Unless before March I didn't know what a Zoom meeting or Google Meets, I've never used it before. So it was a new experience.
For those of you, I would assume you guys get good grades and do well, right? Did you feel that being in school, you were being slowed down because you didn't have the other kids in the classroom, so you could basically go at your own pace? Was that? Am I getting that right? Where I could see you being advanced more than maybe the average student, and kind of going, not being held back. Is that making sense?
No, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I know what you're trying to get at.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's been, so when I first asked about expectations, you said it didn't match your expectations, correct?
No.
Okay, so it ended up being better than what you were imagining, correct? Okay, well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
I would also like to add that once virtual learning first started, I thought it would be some type of temporary school that wouldn't offer as many features as normal school, like there'd be less labs and stuff. But after we actually went through it, I realized that all it does is point out the flaws of having a public school in the first place, on how there's just a standard growing curve, and everyone, though how much advanced or behind they may be, they still have to follow that curve, which may diminish some students, and may make the course harder for other students. And if it is in fact at home, then you can go at your own pace but still doing the same things. You might need 50 minutes on this topic when someone else might need 10 minutes, but both you guys are getting 35 minutes on a topic in your math class. That's why I think virtual learning is actually probably a better option than public schooling.
Okay, so you think the virtual is better?
Than traditional, yeah.
I mean, from a learning aspect, the virtual is definitely a lot better, but once it gets to a point where it's like there's no social aspect anymore, or if there is, there's like group projects and it's through Hangouts, and because nobody's in the same period anymore and everybody's just waking up at different times and everybody's just logging on whenever the hell they feel like it, so to collaborate in a group project, it makes it extremely difficult, and it's very hard to score high on a rubric for a group project. The other thing with the social aspect is a lot of kids that do rely from confidence boosts from their friends or a little extra help from their friends, homework help or whatever not, that just goes, right? And so there are those kids who struggle more from the virtual learning.
Right.
Does the virtual, and I don't know the answer to this question, so I'm asking it. I don't have children of my own, so is the virtual learning, do you have access to your teacher? Is your teacher available?
Yes.
Okay.
The teachers like to say that they're often available, or that you should email them for questions. You'll email them, 3 weeks later they have not responded. Or they need to update a grade, or something will happen, and it takes a long time, or a lot of emails or Hangout messages for them to respond.
Hangout messages, is that what is it?
It's like it's a Google app.
It's a Google Hangout.
Okay,
Right.
gotcha.
Okay. So after going virtual, do you guys miss the social aspect of being in school? If you do, put your hand in the air. Do you miss the social aspect?
She's in high school now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious to know, because she's the high school student, I would think the high school student definitely would. Am I correct? You probably wanted to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, I've always like struggled socially, but like it's been even harder for me because I haven't been able to see anybody, and there's so few people that I'm okay with. So it's just even worse.
Are you able to, through the virtual learning, to talk to your other students in the classroom too, or no? Are you able to have contact with them? Okay. So it's like legitimately, you see everybody that's online, right? All right.
Okay. So you would, correct me if I'm wrong, would you prefer to actually be in the classroom than to be studying virtually?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. How many, so I guess the transition wasn't as drastic going from the end of last year into the summer. Because you're already home, you've been home for 3.5 months, then you come into the summer for 3 months, and now it looks like we're going to be delayed until, what is it, up until October 16th?
Right.
And then correct me if I'm wrong, another decision will be made at that point as to whether or not to go back fully.
Yeah.
Okay. Who here wants to go back fully? 3. How do you think lessons learned? We were locked down. We had virtual learning. Looks like we're going to be virtual for another couple of months until a decision is rendered. What have you learned? What have you learned through this whole thing? And how is that going to change your perspective when you potentially go back on October 16th? Does it help with, has it been enlightening in any way as to how you study, how you look at your schoolwork? Maybe you're taking some things for granted when you showed up to school every day and now you don't have them because it's virtual? But what would you think about that?
Yeah, I pretty much took things for granted when I showed up to school, and then things changed when virtual learning happened. That's basically the bulk of what I learned in the bulk of the school year during online schooling.
What would you think would be the biggest thing that you took for granted that you don't have right now, and you'd want to have that back?
I'm trying to figure out a way how to frame this, and
Let me ask you this: did you take your teacher for granted, having an actual teacher there?
Yeah, most definitely. Because with an actual teacher there that I can talk to, I felt more confident with going to them and asking them questions instead of going to some other application and asking through that, and then potentially have them not answer for a couple of weeks.
Understood. Good.
And by that time, the assignment passed and they've already failed the assignment.
Right. Understood.
The student-teacher relationship clearly breaks down going virtually. It just does. It's natural.
Right.
And that's why I prefer if I had children of my own to be in the school, because the student that's a straight A student will be a straight A student anywhere. They're just smart. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. The student that is the middle of the road that needs more of the hands-on, I would think that if you're a C student, I was a C student growing up. I needed the teacher they had to explain things to me, and it would be over my shoulder. That's what I would miss. I would miss that, especially if they were late getting back. So
absolutely.
Yeah, the structure. Yeah. I know a lot of us that are really high achieving students that are doing very well in classes. We sort of set up these hangouts groups where we'd offer homework help and stuff. So we don't offer structure and tell them, okay, you're going to get on at this time, you're going to do this, right? But we help them out with their schoolwork, at least so that aspect works.
that's awesome.
I forgot what I was going to say before, but yeah. I mean, you take for granted the whole social aspect of school. You're just like, yeah, whatever, I'm just going to skip it. You know, I'm going to go to this teacher's room for lunch or something. And I mean, especially for like social studies or your history class, where there's like once a week the teacher does a new lecture for that kind of chapter, and you just sit there and you take notes. You kind of miss out on that. Now you just have to read like this 20-page thing by yourself, and for somebody who hates reading, that's like, okay, I'm just going to go straight into the test. I don't want to read, right? So you definitely do take those things for granted, and you really don't realize it until it's gone.
Right. So, question here. Of those sitting here on our panel today, how many of you are interested in the sciences or are currently enrolled in science classes? Okay, sir, if I can get your opinion. Virtual learning versus in-class learning. Do you think the virtual will impact particular science courses, especially the ones that have a laboratory component attached to them? Physical hands-on?
It definitely affects science classes in general, because labs I have every Friday, and it's hands-on every single Friday, and it's a lot of fun. So that definitely takes a toll on things. But then there's the written work, that's just reading and writing. So that's a lot easier than what it would have been in school in front of the teachers.
Right, right.
Yeah, I agree with that statement, but I would also like to add that even though hands-on learning is very fun, I do think that it's not as necessary as other aspects of in-school learning, such as having a teacher by your shoulder every time, because even though there is some hands-on experiments every once in a while, those aren't, there's nothing you can retain from that you can't retain from a textbook, which is why I think that even though those are necessary parts of the science curriculum, the science curriculum could very easily be just as effective without it.
Understood. Good point.
If I may, I'd like to disagree, because the hands-on, it really enforces you to learn the concepts yourself, rather than a teacher just literally telling you what to do, and then they give you the benchmark assessment, and you literally just exactly repeat word for word what they said on the assessment on the line just to get 100, right? The labs, the hands-on, all of that, it's you basically figure it out yourself, right? You create a hypothesis, you test it, you figure out what that, like, let's say, for example, that chemical changes versus a physical change. I mean, that's a very rudimentary example, but my point is that otherwise you'd have that teacher there, like, especially they're over your shoulder a lot. They're telling you what to do. It's like they're basically almost doing your work for you a lot of the time, even if they know you can do it, right? So, I mean, to have a teacher lecture, I mean, that's great, but now that you're distanced from them and they have a lot more students to pay attention to, especially the ones that are struggling with their class, it's a lot better for those who want to go and learn more in depth or learn more advanced.
You're working it out yourself, basically. You know, that's what it's like doing long division. I
Long
understand.
division,
Yeah, it's like long, you know, without a cat.
I use long division all the time.
That's it.
So here's another question for you guys. Academics is part of it. You know, the social component, you know, seeing friends you haven't seen in a while, and, you know, so on and so forth, or maybe you count on school to see those individuals on a more regular basis. What about clubs? I know in school you have, you know, things like, you know, for senior class play, you know, or you might have music clubs, drama clubs, math clubs. What about things of that sort? You know, because that they don't. And please correct me if I'm wrong. It doesn't seem like any of that is addressed with any online. If I'm wrong, you know, please point it out. But we have like a lot of extracurricular activities that a lot of folks depend upon the schools for.
So the extracurriculars that run outside of school, I mean, that I can't really speak for. I can speak for my own. But for the clubs, it's really up to the club advisors. The club advisors just basically, okay, scratch this lesson. We're starting from scratch, and we got to figure out what to do. So especially for like my slam poetry class or spoken word, we had to switch our virtual showcase to a virtual showcase, and it was actually, this year was kind of short because our teacher was out for surgery earlier in the year and didn't come back till like around December. We were there for a month or so. We did like an in-house competition, and then we're back to virtual, and it's now another virtual showcase. And especially for spoken word, you need an audience, right, to do it well. So a lot of the stuff is just randomized. It's like spontaneous.
Right.
Is the technology difficult to any of you guys or not? You guys understand it? Like, you guys go jump on, no problem? Yeah.
Understand.
They probably can rate the software, I would think.
Right, right. Actually, may I ask a question to our senior? If that's okay? So you're going into your senior year, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I'm curious to know. Do you want to go? You want to go back for your senior year? Do you really like? It's your last year of school. I would think. What's your feelings right now as you enter your last year of school that's mandatory?
mandatory, right?
So for me, it's like every year of school, it just gets worse. I'm not a good student,
That's fine. I was not a great student either. That's
but I like, for the first 3 marking periods, I don't do anything. I fail. And then the last marking period, it's time to panic and then just do everything last minute. Don't know why I do this to myself. But can you repeat the question?
It's your last year, and
Yeah.
it's coming to
just thoughts, really.
Yeah, it's your last year. I'm just curious I remember my senior year. I couldn't wait. I got out early. I remember I took less classes because I met the credit, the amount of credits already. So I left at like 1 o'clock or something like that.
Oh, lucky you.
And it was like the greatest thing. Like I wore Adidas pants to school. Like I was already checked out. You know what I mean? But I wasn't a great student. I was a C student, but it was a struggle for me. It was a struggle, and I couldn't wait for it to end. But
Right.
you said that you're not a good student. You feel that were you able to get help throughout? If you asked for help, I mean, did you were you feel like you were let down at any point, or I'm curious to know like.
So I did reach out to like a lot of my teachers and even guidance, but they don't really do much, at least at my school. But the teachers just didn't really care. They were just glad to be home, and it felt like they were just happy to not have to deal with us. And, it really, it bothered me because I'm not a good student. I struggle a lot, and I need extra help.
Do you feel like you could have benefited if you maybe stayed back a year at some point? I don't know if you did or didn't, but do you think that there could have been another avenue that they could have presented to you, or because I feel like the problem that we have in public schools is, especially in Edison, is it's so crowded. These kids get lost, especially with the special ed programs, where they're just kind of pushed into a box together, and they're all pushed through the finish line, and a lot of them can't read at a 12th grade level.
Right. I mean, so one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of, get your perspectives on your senior year, because a lot of us, including myself, relied on senior year to finally make that transition from school to whatever it is next. And being that we have this monkey wrench kind of like thrown into the equation, COVID-19, and therefore, shutdown and virtual learning. I was just curious to see your thoughts on using the senior year to transition to what's next.
I mean, there's really nothing at this point. We don't really have a senior year, it feels like.
Okay.
And you have people entering high school, correct? Are you guys? You're a good student. Do you look at college? Do you start with do you have college in your mind already? Is it like it's coming soon? Because high school does go fast. It flies by.
Does, and I mean 4 years right now seems like practically like a third of my lifetime. But
It's a walk in the park.
Actually, I just took the financial literacy graduation requirement course over the summer, and one of the last chapters was a career-linked self-assessment thing for college and higher career planning, right? And so, yes, it is at the back of your mind, but you're not really focusing on it yet. I mean, I'd kind of wait till sophomore, junior year for that.
It's funny because two different worlds, same school district, right?
Right.
Same curriculum, two different views of she's a freshman going to be a freshman already, thinking into the college years, and then you have a senior year that is legitimately struggled. And I don't know if she's planning on going to county or college, or I don't know what her plans are, but it's tales of two different worlds. You know what I mean? And There is no perfect system, but,
No,
you know,
no, there's not. There's not.
you shouldn't be able to struggle though through the senior year. I
No,
think by the time you get to
no.
senior year, you should be, you know, if it's a struggle just to graduate, so is it worth graduating? You know what I mean? I think because it's a disservice years down the road. You know what I mean? And
Oh, absolutely. And it seems like this virtual actually adds to that struggling for many.
leave kids behind if they need to be left behind. Honestly, that's what I feel. You know, if they're not ready to move, then society suffers down the road.
Well, so you said that we should leave kids behind if they're not ready to progress. I get that where you're coming from, but I also think that the reason that we do have school is to push and help kids that are falling behind, so that everyone has as many years of their life as they could to work to gain skills, so they could be financially stable in the future, because this is a capitalist government. So I think that even though it makes sense that some people may need more time, I think that we should still push kids who may be struggling a bit more, instead of just leaving them behind as you speak.
Sure.
Like the kids that are left behind, and I know like the Edison district does like the 3 levels, or when you get to junior and senior year, they do the 4 levels with the AP, right? And the point with that is like so that the other kids can excel faster, and that the kids are left behind. The teachers don't necessarily know that or really care. That you have to really find that teacher that's passionate, or you have to reach out for help a lot. And I feel like the more self-disciplined you are, the more hardworking you are. If you're a struggling student, you should go look for supplemental resources, YouTube tutorials and things like that, to try and help you as much as possible when the teacher's not available.
Right, and I think for personal experience, I can tell you, by the time I got to sophomore year of high school, I knew what I had to do at that point in time just to get through senior year. Like it's like the politics of school, where you know what makes the minimal requirement you have to do. I knew I wasn't going to a 4-year school, you know, and it wasn't until later on in life where I got diagnosed with ADHD, and I realized that was a whole other separate problem. But back when I went to school, that wasn't an option. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. But at least you knew sophomore year. So, you know, so full disclosure, you know, I wasn't a great student either. My first 2 years at Colonial High School were at best mediocre. It actually took me changing schools and re-surrounding myself with a different group of friends that had, you know, that had higher, you know, ambitions. So I ended up graduating from John F. Kennedy High School in Isling. So it took me changing schools to turn myself around. But I'm sorry, but like somebody said, you know, if you need that help, or it could be extra help, it could be just curiosity about.
Is the size of the school, the overcrowding, is that maybe part of the reason why if kids might slip through, or unless the kid is going to be
They're so large, so there's a lot of kids.
Right. Right, exactly. So kids that might not be as verbal to their hey, I need help here. You know, some kids are shy of that. You know, some kids are embarrassed to ask for it. So, and if you have 30 kids in a classroom, it's hard for a teacher to, you know, there's so many different moving parts. I would find it that it's easy for a kid just to kind of just get through, just to barely get by.
Right.
It's clear that like the schools are overpopulated by like every like year, and the school system is actually trying to do something about it, but it's really expensive. Like the referendum or whatever it is, the new buildings inside the school, that's going to cost a lot. So they're trying to do something, but it's not going to work for them.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. It was 190 million.
I really feel with like the kids that are struggling, they're like a Padlet or something. There should be like a platform where they can anonymously ask for like a homework help question. Like they put the question there. Like they don't ask, and I mean they can specifically ask if they want somebody to like help them, like mentor them, right? But if they just want help with that one question or a few questions, right? Somebody just answers them anonymously, back and forth, right? So you're getting the help you need, the explanation and stuff, right? Without those kids who are embarrassed to ask for help, or they don't want to feel stupid or whatever, not to get judged, right? So that should be like a really social initiative program that should be done by some students.
Interesting. Interesting. I remember I went to private school my first grade, and just tell you how the system works. I failed in St. Francis, but I didn't. My mother did not want to leave me back, and it was a mistake that she made. She took me out of private school. I went to public school, went right into second grade. When I should, and I graduated high school at 17. I started high school when I was 16, senior year at 16. And so I could have used that extra year. In retrospect, that first grade would have done me wonders, I think.
Right.
Wonders. I'm not blaming my mother.
Right.
Love the woman.
Right. At the microphone here.
So there is obviously that aspect where you can. So there's obviously that aspect where some people don't have the resources that they require because they're shy or because there's a lot of students, which is another reason I think that like schools should, like, as long as COVID still exists and CDC predictions say that this could be here for the entire school year, knowing how it's going right now and knowing how some people aren't taking as many precautions as they should be. So assuming that the entire year probably is going to be gone, even this time, then I think that by implementing new resources, more than we've already had, that could simulate a classroom environment, that could probably help a lot.
Are you afraid, are you scared to return to school? And is there a fear factor where, like, you know, I just, you know, I'm afraid I want to get it, or?
Yeah, there's definitely a fear factor because there's estimates saying at least 1.2% of the children population will die if they do get coronavirus. And if we have a school in our thing, there's 3,000 people in JB Stevens. If we do reopen entirely, or as the government's trying to get us to do, there could be hundreds of cases and thousands of relatives that also get cases. And I think that if you're not, you should definitely be scared because COVID isn't a laughing matter. So I think that no matter what, we shouldn't be reopening because of fear of getting it.
Yes.
Well, the previous plan of reopening the schools was basically around like 31% of students would be opted to go back to schools, and then the rest would be online. So the fear of catching COVID would be diminished by that. Schools would still be like quote unquote opened entirely, but a large part of the student body would be still at home.
And you solve overcrowding right there, in a sense, in a way,
basically,
right?
Yeah. And that wasn't the 31% wasn't just for Edison High School. It was for the entire area.
Yeah, I think it was district wide. I think
Yeah.
it was district wide, actually. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Along with, even though they are opening still, just 31% of the they're allowing only 31% of the students come in. I still think that there's a huge health hazard along with that. I think that if it were up to me, if it were up to most students, we'd have nobody going back to school just out of pure safety. A lot of students, at least here, don't actually see the implementation of it because in New Jersey the cases are less, but if we reopen school, the cases could jump almost immediately.
Yes, there is a health safety hazard going back to school, but I mean, so masks don't replace social distancing, right? Because the masks don't protect against 0.01 microns, which is the size of a coronavirus particle. And so really, if you're wearing masks and you're social distancing, it's decently safe, right? And with that small portion going back to school, it is worthwhile for those kids who are struggling with their academics or really need that social aspect, because I know there are a lot of kids that are struggling with their mental health right now, and at this point you could arguably say that the same amount of people are going to die from virtual learning than from in-person learning too.
If the virus was to go away magically tomorrow and it's no more here, right? Would you want the district to still offer the virtual learning, have that, or do you want to just go back to the way it was, or do you want to have a hybrid option going forward permanently?
Good question.
I think the virtual option should be there, but it should be like you have to fit these certain requirements to have that option available to you, because there are a lot of students who are like, oh yeah, I want to be virtual, right? And I mean, a lot of the parents will make that choice for the students, because the parents are like, okay, my child is going to play games, and really I feel like they need to understand that your child's always going to want to play games. They're going to want to watch Netflix, and it's going to happen. No matter how much you try to block it, you want to put cameras up to stop them from texting friends, right? That's going to happen, and they're still going to find a way around it. And so it should really be child choice, and the parents keep coming in, and I feel like it makes the situation worse.
If the virus were to leave right now and never come back, then I think that reopening the schools shouldn't be a choice. It should be mandatory, because not only that, it's not just that, oh, you'll learn a bit better because you have these, you have tests without much cheating, even though at home you can cheat a lot. It's that there's a lot of socialization that you're missing out on if you're at home. And that's one thing that you definitely need when you're in a school.
So you wouldn't want a hybrid option? You wouldn't want the option of the parent or the student to make a choice whether or not, hey, certain classes or certain days of the week?
Yeah, no, because
However,
as much as we think that we know what's best for us, I still think that a lot of students would be like, oh, I don't want to go back to school, but school as an option would help them a lot, and they just don't know it right now. So a bunch of teenagers think that they know the best for themselves, but honestly, that's probably not true.
Yeah, that's true. We've all been there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would go for a hybrid option, so like the very top of the class can not feel like they're being held back, as a point that was brought up earlier today was that a lot of, well, model students were really welcoming to online learning, and they felt that that was right for them. And it would also solve overcrowding a bit too, to keep a hybrid option open, and it would allow for, well, just basically more opportunity all around. Though I do agree with the system that there needs to be set up according or such to regulate student choice. Well, there should be student choice, but not too much student choice or
Right. There should still be requirements, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Is there a grade, do you feel, I'm curious to know if you guys, because you guys all went to elementary school, you think elementary kids should have a hybrid option, or you think they should be in the school?
They should definitely be in the school. I mean,
Yeah,
I agree.
For the elementary schools at least, if they're not in school, they're missing out on a lot of opportunities, because some of them don't know how to use different devices, and their parents, they can't be left alone if their parents have to work. So for elementary school kids, they have to go to school to learn.
Okay.
And there's also the social aspect. Like elementary school helps with a lot of like social interactions with their friends and with older people, with
Absolutely.
special ed kids, like something like that.
Yeah, so I mean, like, it's the basic social aspect and the respect for your teachers that you learn, and how to discuss with people that are older than you, or how to show that respect. And I mean, it's so fundamental. Like, there's so many kids now that even without this whole virtual mess that's been thrown into the mix, they barely even know how to make a conversation without texting. And it's really, really sad. And so the elementary kids, and they don't really have much self-discipline for themselves. So they should go to school, and I feel that the elementary schools, because there are so many, they are less overcrowded than a middle school or a high school. As far as the virtual hybrid option, I mean, it should be hybrid, especially for those teenagers that are very antisocial, right, and they want to just avoid it. They really should go back to school for a few days, even if they don't feel very comfortable. They may not have to take an exam or something, but it needs to be there socially. And I mean, like, I know I learn more at home because I'm personally, I feel like I'm a good teacher for myself, for other people. And I know, like, my mom working a full-time job with jury duty, she's a better teacher than the majority of the teachers in the school.
I'm curious before, and we'll wrap it up soon, but and I want everybody's opinion on it, if you don't mind, at some point, because you will have administrators watching this, The superintendent probably watching, I can guarantee you that. Your teachers, some of your teachers, about things that, opinions that you have, things that you think need to be changed. And that if you had an opportunity, if they were sitting right here, what would you tell them? You know, and just keep that in mind. We'll go. You know.
Yeah, if everyone could just answer that, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, each one of you would have some kind of message, you know, or some type of suggestion rather.
Because
you know,
here's
to
we hear so much from the adults, all right? But like, you guys are all you can all think for yourself, all right? But we don't hear from you guys. We hear from the adults, but it's important to hear from you because you guys are in the classroom, all right? It's all about you guys. So this would be your opportunity to let them know, hey, this is what is not good, this is what's good, this is what needs to be changed, and they'll take notes, believe me. So if you have any of that, we'd love to hear it. If you don't, that's fine.
If you don't, it's fine. Yeah, we're definitely not forcing you to say anything, but if you want to, that's great.
I don't really have much new to add to say.
Okay.
Okay, no, fair enough.
I would love to say a few things, speak my mind a little bit. The fact is that a lot of politicians are trying to reopen because of the economy. They think that they're trying to put the economy before the American lives, and now that the government's also saying that they'll cut funding if we don't reopen, I think that the people in charge should take into consideration that you're not just putting the lives of your students at stake who could probably you're putting the lives of their grandparents, their parents, their immunocompromised siblings at stake when you try and reopen the schools. And some people they will be forced to reopen because, they'll be forced to go back to school because they have no other option. If you keep going this way, then we'll probably reopen during our second wave, and coronavirus cases are going to be higher than ever. And we are just middle school and high school students. Most of us won't wear a mask. We're not adults. We're not that mature. A lot of people just don't think it matters. So I think that there's no doubt in my mind that we won't be able to handle COVID-19 if it does in fact reach our school system.
Okay.
I don't have a lot to add, just the bathrooms are disgusting. So, fix those.
I think that's traditional.
It's been that way for a while.
I think it's fine.
The teachers, we all forget that it's new for them too, and they're trying to adjust. I'll give them that, but I'll also give that there are, I'm not going to say names, but there are lazy teachers out there that are like, okay, I'm just going to wake up at 1 o'clock, assign them some random reading to do, and then assign them as much work as I possibly can to keep them occupied, and then just go. So I feel like a lot of the teachers, I know either, there's some classes my workload is dropped by 50%, and then the others it's increased by 50%. So at the end it kind of does balance out, but I feel like the teachers need to look at what worksheets are really important, what's actually beneficial to be completed. How long is it going to take us? Is it really important to do? Or they should give us a suggestion to learn something outside of school because we have that opportunity. So I feel
you want it to be a little more challenging? Are you challenged enough? You seem definitely. I get the impression that she is extremely smart,
very driven,
and absolutely, and she's beyond probably most of the other students, and she's probably not challenged. You know what I mean?
I'll give you that. In the honors math program, yes, definitely a little bit challenged. But the other classes, no, not really. But I'm okay with it because during lunch periods, I will go and I'll tutor kids, or I'll go and hold a study session or things like that. And I get free gym skip periods. I don't have to do gym unnecessarily.
That's good that she does that though. She helps the other students out though. That's
I'm fine with that. So
that's good for you.
I think that the teachers are looking at a very small picture, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like they should look at the whole aspect of the student, even though it's not necessarily their job. I think it would improve the whole experience overall.
Interesting.
For me, I really just think the teachers got to do better. Granted, I could have done better too. But
there's self-responsibility, right?
Yeah, but the fact that they really made it seem like they didn't care, didn't make me want to care, made me care less. So, I think that if they notice a pattern of students really struggling worse, and they should really reach out, not wait like 3 weeks to answer if you've reached out. But even if you haven't reached out, I really think they should like try to reach out, because like for me, my teachers waited until last minute to call my parents to tell them that I wasn't doing well and that I wasn't going to make it to senior year. But it was really just so they could say that they did something. They didn't help.
And if I can ask you a question, has guidance made themselves available to you through this virtual learning experience?
Yes, but the thing about like my guidance counselor, very annoying. Like I don't care if she sees this. I don't care. She's very annoying. She knows that I'm uncomfortable speaking with her like in person, but she kept trying to like schedule calls with me even though I've told her that I'm uncomfortable. But a lot of my friends, theirs didn't reach out or even let them know that if they had any questions with the way it was being run, that they didn't say anything to them really.
Do you feel that you're ready to graduate? Like, do you feel at some point you could have another year would have benefited you, or you're about to graduate? I mean, do you feel like you're missing something? You don't, there's certain things like, I don't know how, like, I'll be honest with you, I don't know how I passed Spanish class. When I was in Spanish, I took 2 years of Spanish, and it's like, how I got through it is amazing. But
well, I took 4, and I don't remember any of it.
yeah, so I mean,
And
there's,
I'm a Hispanic guy.
right? No, but my point is though is that like you learn how to get by. I relate to you because you know how to just do enough, procrastinate, right? Wait till the last minute, right, to do the project and stuff like that. I get it all, and it will change later on in life. But I left when I graduated high school. I knew that I wasn't really, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't at a level where I thought I should have been, and I don't know whose fault it is. That it's combined. There's enough blame to go around for everybody. So, just curious.
I definitely think I need an extra year because like 3rd grade, that was like the worst. It really sucked. I don't know how to multiply and divide, and I'm 16.
So you do not know how to multiply and divide?
Not well.
Okay.
Just
No.
barely. So I told my teachers this. They just don't care.
And I don't know who to blame for that, but that's a story. And as when I ran last year, one of the things we uncovered was the special needs special ed department and how these kids just get by. And one parent in particular was worried about that their child was graduating high school and was reading at like a 3rd grade level. And that's a system failure right there. It's a breakdown. There's a breakdown somewhere.
Somewhere. Yeah, I would agree with you.
I don't know if it makes much sense, but like in those cases, I think like maybe take a gap year and like catch up on those skills that you feel that you're not very comfortable with, that you should be at that point, right? So you, instead of taking that gap year to like explore what you want to do, I mean, that's also part of it. I mean, if you don't already know, but maybe just learn and stuff. So.
Well, how about this? How about if you know you're not going to go to college isn't in the plans for a student? How about having an option for classes that go to the student and say, what is it that you like in life? What is it that you want to do? What inspires you? And then maybe have options for that type of student. Listen, you can't have, I wish I could be an astrophysicist and have those type of classes. You don't have that, right? But for a student that is not going to go to a Rutgers, or you could go to Middlesex. Everybody likes to go. I went to Middlesex, but Middlesex for a student like for a person like me, it was really more of a waste of time. It was just, I did it because it made my parents happy, right? But it's what I wanted to do in life. I didn't need the college. And if I had the option to have certain skills, you know what I mean? Learn how to cut hair, be a barber, learn certain trades that are important.
Sure, absolutely.
So you said that there should be an option for people who want to learn different trades that don't necessarily appear in college. There are programs for that, but I also think that there are some skills in college that could help you with that. For example, if you want to go and pursue a career in architecture, you do need to go through college for that, even though there may not be an exact course for that exact thing. So even though like I still think that college would be important to learn the skills, even if you go to no matter what college you go to, it's that the skills you learn along the way that matter more than like the actual name above your head.
Listen, the life skills and the social skills are extremely important. You'll all reap the benefits years later, believe me. But
Would you like to ask a question?
You guys actually talked about the clubs, you talked about the in-class, you talked about bathrooms, everything. Nobody actually mentioned that about the sports. So I'm not sure how many of you are really into sports, but I've seen many kids, they take sports as one of the reasons to go to school. So what do you guys think about that?
There you
great
go.
question.
Sports.
I should have asked that question actually.
Absolutely.
I played sports, but
Well, sports is another thing that I think that shouldn't happen until COVID cases are over as well, because as much as you could say you want to regulate social distancing, that doesn't really happen once you're like in the midst of the field. Let's say you're playing football. There's no way you can stay 6 feet apart while playing football or wear a mask while running and sprinting. So I think that those sports are very important. While COVID is still not contained, I think that sports should just be another thing that we just don't do, just like most clubs and most other things that happen in Harrison.
okay.
Yeah, like the sports, the marching band, all of that. I mean, it's not smart to do, but at the same time, unless you're practicing on your own, all of those skills are degrading and you come back like 6, 7, 8, 9 months behind. And I mean, if you're not working by yourself to physically condition or practice against like a wall offense, like for example tennis or something, then you're really starting behind, and then you have to basically work all the way up to there from square one again.
Right. Well, plus, most people will not become professional athletes. 99% of the people will not.
Right, most will, right.
So the sports is more of a team building, teaching skills like that are important. But I agree, it's impossible to social distance playing football. So some of the sports,
Yeah, team building, leadership.
yeah, exactly.
Discipline. Yep.
So you brought up the point that, well, you're gonna like come back to the sports worse than you were before. I think that's a necessary thing that you should I think that it's necessary for you to take those, like some things I think that some things are less important than your health and the health of people around you, and sports is one of them. You could play football and then not do it for 9 months, but I think that's less important than keeping your family safe and alive for that amount of time as well. So even though sports, a lot of people aren't able to play the sports, I think that's a necessary thing you should just shoot off your list. Like, oh well, deal with it.
I can't exactly speak for in-school sports. I don't really do them, but I figure skate outside of school, and I mean that we've started that back up since like mid-July-ish, and like dance practices have resumed. Like we had our dance show a few weeks back, right? So those kind of things are still there. And granted, I mean you can't 100% guarantee that you're not gonna get sick. But the chances that you're going to get really, really sick, or you're going to die or have serious injury or penalty from it is very, very, very low. Like 6% of all the people that have been recorded that have been positive for COVID-19 have only experienced death or serious injury from it. Right? So, and that's a very, very small percentage, right? So again, like there's a lot of fear factor. The news pushes it a lot. And I'm not trying to minimalize it. It's just that we're like so scared of it that everything's like, okay, we're going to stop it right now. And there's an aspect to it of which it's actually more important than your school subjects in a sense.
Very well said. Very well said. Absolutely.
All right, on the topic of sports, I'm going to just say a nice little suggestion. There's nothing stopping schools from evolving, including esports. or online sports, which I hear is basically where a bunch of players work in a team on, well, computers or any device that really just, well, involves hand-eye coordination and, well, team play. And esports can be played anywhere, anytime, and the school can host it, but we just need them to include it first.
Is that a suggestion?
Yes.
All right, there you go. But what we would like to do, though, is we would like to thank everybody for coming out today. Thank you for your opinions. It's greatly appreciated. And parents, thank you very much for bringing your children. It's very important that we hear their voice, we hear their opinions, and there'll probably be some more challenges, coming up. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid. Don't feel like you're being a pest to your teacher. Don't feel like you're being a pest to your guidance counselor. If you have the question or if you have the concern, raise it, ask the question. Don't be shy. Just don't be shy.
Good job, guys. Thank you for coming out.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Thank you, guys. And we wish you, all of you, the best of luck, coming up.
We might do a follow-up. Maybe we'll do a follow-up sometime down the road.
A follow-up?
When I go back.
Would you guys be open to a follow-up? Possibly? Yeah? Okay. All right. All right, with that being said, thank you for joining us, everybody. Best of luck with the upcoming school year, whether it's virtual, in person, hybrid, and like I said, do not be afraid to reach out to anybody. You know what? I'll put myself out there, including myself, because I'll do whatever I can to help, and I know Anthony would do the same. So thank you very much, everybody, and enjoy your upcoming school year.
Don't worry so much. Don't worry so much.